Hello y'all, today I'm going to show you all how to make an object in the pinball project. I'm going to go over this list of steps and make a quick little game object as an example. And I'm going to do this with the most recent commit that I made 9 minutes ago. And in this commit, there's unfinished pinball objects, and what that means is just there's some glitches and stuff that are not done yet. But I pushed the commit anyways, just because it's better than nothing. But also because I can still make this video. I can still explain how the process goes to make a game object in the project, so I'm gonna do that right now. So first I'm gonna open a project in the file and make the object. So the first thing you want to do to make the object is go to game object and we'll make the prefab. So I'm gonna open the prefabs folder just to have it open here, and I'm going to make a, let's say I want to make a 3D pinball object. It could be anything, but I'm going to make a 3D pinball object that I'm going to put in the game. So I'm going to make a cube, going to call it like pinball fish. And there it is. You can put a material on it too as well. But I'm just going to leave it like this. And make sure that the position is 0. So that that is its default position, and that doesn't mess you up. So now we have this game object, and to turn it to prefab, I just click and drag it and put it in the prefabs folder and then delete it here because we're going to spawn it later. Next, now that we have the prefab, we will go into the script and make a public slot for the prefab. So you can, as you can see, all of these, the script has slots for every object. So that's what we're gonna make. So now I'm gonna go into the script. Here's the script. There's a lot of stuff, but where you want to go is after all the struct definitions and before this like button function. Here I put all the public stuff. So for the fish, it is going to be a pinball object, so I'm going to say public game object fish prefab, and that's the slot right there. So I Control S to save quickly, and then I switch back to the project, and you see there's a slot here now in the script. So to actually put the prefab in, you can open the prefabs folder and click here and scroll to where your object is in this list. It's right here. So there we go. It loads. Now, just because I put it here doesn't mean it's actually in this player object. As you can see, it's just empty. So you can either go through, well, you have to go through every instance of player in every scene to actually update it. I don't know why Unity does this, but yeah. The easiest way I find to do this is just to remove the component, go to the script and just re-add the script, and there we go. So I'm going to do that for the next 2 levels. So you go to the scenes folder, click whatever level you need to update, and you'll see that it's not updated. So just remove the component and then just add it again because you changed the script definition. But the instance are different. So we still have to go through every single one. There we go, I had the last one, so now I Control S to save all that. I go back to the first level. And there we go, we're good. Now the fish is added. Now with this prefab, we have to reference it somewhere, and that is the next step. So now we're going to reference it in the game construct, game1 construct. And that is in the void start function right here where it says game1.construct. You will see that there's a bunch of prefabs here. So where you're gonna add this prefab is like at the second to last one, because this is just a function, it's not a prefab. So I'm going to add it. I'm going to add fish prefab. Now the construct still only has all of these arguments. It only has all of these, but there's no actual argument for your fish, for your game object that you just added on this list. So I'm going to hold control and then click on the construct function. You see here's the actual argument definition. So wherever I added that object, I'm going to also add, I'm going to also add a reference for that object. So I'm gonna call it fish trap. And there we go. And the way you know that it's good, Control S, go back to the project and let it compile. And if there's no errors, then you're good. So now we have the reference of the object we made as fish fab. Now I'm going to initialize the object on a specific level. So the levels are, you access the names of the levels with levels.current levels. As you can see here, I put the levels in, and current level is set to one of the levels. This really should just be pinball objects, but I forgot to rename it. But as you can see, there's a lot of initialization happening here. But for a pinball object, you want to either initialize it in level 1 here or level 2. I'm going to do it in level 2. And what you do is, well, you take this, you take the list of pinball objects, because we want everything in a list so it's easily accessible. Add, you know, how many objects you want. So I have one here. And then we say, okay, add here, this construct function. This is from the pinball objects definition. So this list, it is a list of pinball objects. And in pinball objects, there is all sorts of, here's the construct function. And this is how we make multiple objects out of one struct. The way you choose what your object will have is, well, first of all, put the prefab that you made in the first slot of the construct in the prefab slot. So it's called fish fab. And then the position slot, that's just the spawn point. So at the moment it is 000. That means it will spawn at the origin of the world. The movement vector, I usually use the movement vector to like determine what direction something moves. So you can change that too. There is rotation and also object type. And the last one, so when you see the when you see an argument that has brackets like this, that means it's optional. It's optional because by default it is set to null, as you can see. So if you don't put anything at this exact slot, it's fine because it will just set it to null. So I'm just gonna remove this slot because that's the slot where it goes. Instead of doing like an angle axis thing, I just do quaternion.identity. So here I initialize the object in level 2, and that matters because level 1 is scene 1. So if you're in scene 1, this will show up. But if you're in scene 2, none of this will show up. Instead, this will show up. So we are literally changing the list per level. So now in level 2, there is a fish. But what if I want to update this fish and do other stuff? To update things, first of all, we want to make a function in the pinball object definitions. For example, right now, if we go to the update screen function, you'll see that when the screen is on gaming screen, this for loop is going through every object and is checking the type of object. So if it's a paddle, we're going to do update paddle. Or if it's a ball or a paddle and is not asleep, then we do sleep function. So it's split by type. So if you want your object to update, you need to make a type, unless it's already a paddle or a holder or ball. So I'm going to do that. So first I'm going to give my object a type. Right now it doesn't have a type, so I'm going to make a new one. I'm going to go all the way up here to the enums and look at P object type. That means paddle object type. We can see here we have all of the other ones. So I'm going to put a comma and say fish. Now we have an object type of fish. Cool. So I'm going to use that in this construct function. And I'm just going to add it here because this is the slot where it goes. So P object type dot fish. So now this object is of type fish. Now I'm going to go to the list check in gaming screen, put it here. So else if, and I'm just going to copy and paste this. Else if the type of this specific object is fish, then I do something specific with the object at this index. And the reason I'm doing it by type and not by specifically like, oh, at index 0 do this, is because this way the order which the objects are initialized doesn't matter. The order doesn't matter, the type is what matters. Adds flexibility. So now we have our object here, but we still don't have a function to actually update it. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to make that in the pinball object definition. So right here, I'm going to, okay, this is a pinball object. I'm going to go to the definition of a pinball object. Close this construct, don't really need that. And these are all the other update functions that I'm using for the other objects. But to add a function, you just do public void fish move. And so there we go, we got a function. And let's say I want an input, such as this update paddle is taking. You just do button state and call this whatever, like input. This means that I'm taking in one button, and I could have like multiple buttons. Like what if I want, you know, what if I want right and left? Then I can have that. So whatever happens here, I can I use this. After making this function, this update function, we're gonna go back to where the object list check is happening, and on our type, we can now put fish move dot or fish move, yeah. And there we go. And as we can see, it is taking 2 inputs, and right here I have inputs, keyboard or gamepad, but what I want is left and right, so left, right. So now the fish is updating every frame through the list and through its type. And at this point, you've made an object and it can update now. So I'm going to Control S to save, go back to the scene view to see if it compiles without errors, and it doesn't, or it does compile, and there we go. So now I'm going to run it and see if the object spawns at level 2. So play, switch to level 2, green means level 2. And you're going to see the scene change to level 3 technically. But so I see nothing here, and that's because the camera isn't pointing at anything. But if I go to the scene view and drop this down and expand this a little bit, you'll see that pinball fish is there. And this is it. At this point, I'm like, okay, the object spawned, and if I press A or D, you know, something would happen if I actually put something in the function. Now you're wondering like, okay, it's in the middle of nowhere. I don't want it to be here. I want it to be somewhere specific. Let's say you want this object to be like right over here. And you say, okay, that's a good spot for it. Well, now you will look at the position of this object in the world. And this transform can either be local or global. Global means that it's relative to the world, that the position, all the data is relative to the world. And local means that it's relative to the object's parent. So to see if it's local or not, this right here, this button has to be highlighted, has to be checked, and here you'll get the tool settings. And here we see that it's local, and we can switch from local to global, and this really only matters if your object is, for example, a parent of another, such as this canvas is a parent of the camera. So when something is a parent of another thing, local matters. Local is what matters. But when it says in the air like this, and it doesn't have a parent, you can look at either. It actually doesn't matter. But now we move to here, and I want it to be here. So I will take these values, or I will remember them. Okay, 0.5 and then 5.5 negative. And to actually move the object there, I would just I'll put those values in. So 0.5, whoops, 0.5, negative 0.5, and negative 5.5. And there we go. I have values that I know will be in the right position because I looked into the scene instead of just guessing, you know, guessing, oh, is this in the right place or not? So yeah, to change the position of an object, go to the scene view. Let the game run, go to the scene view, and then actually look where it is, because yeah, that will make it a lot easier to mess with the position. So that's it. That's all you need to make an object, hopefully. And by the way, once you are finished and you want to like commit your changes. You'll see all the changes here. You'll type your name. So my name is Adrian Flores. Of course, I wrote that wrong. Can't write my own name. And you'll see like, okay, added fish, right? And you put a description fish, blah, blah, blah. And then you would do commit files, and then it will tell you to push and then pull. And after all that's done, you should see in the history that you committed something. But if you don't want to change anything in a project, well, you just highlight all these changes and you left click and you just discard all of them. Okay, sometimes it doesn't, most of the time it doesn't discard everything, but there you go. You just discard everything if you don't want to make any changes.